upstairs, they have a microphone upstairs. So once we get to the question and answers, they will be able to ask the question directly to the Shaykh from upstairs.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Let's talk about now about the wealth or money of our children, including a child benefit. There is a hadith mentioned by Rasulullah said in this hadith in Arabic, أنت ومالك لأبيك. So, and it says in English, there is a problem here. It's always a problem of translation. That you and your wealth belong to your father. So this is a translation in English. But when you go back to the Arabic statement, أنت ومالك لأبيك, talking here about the understanding of some families or some parents that they own the money of their children. And they have complete freedom to dispose of it and deal with it the way they want, based on this hadith. So when you go back to the Arabic statement, Rasulullah said, "Anta wa maluka li abik." We have a lam here, and a lam in Arabic language could be lam al-mulk, could be lam al-ibaha. Lam al-mulk is the lam of ownership. That means the father owns his children and he owns their wealth. This is the first meaning. The second meaning, أنت ومالك لأبيك, lam is for permissibility. That you have your wealth, the wealth of your children is permissible. You are allowed to use the money of your children, but you don't own it. You have access to it, but you don't own it. You are not the owner. They are the ones who pay the zakat of their money. You don't pay the zakat on their behalf, so you don't own it. And this is the right understanding, that lam here, lam is lam al-ibaha, is a lam of permissibility. So you don't own their money, but if there is a need to use it, you can use it. But with some conditions. What are the conditions? The ulama talked about them. But then when we talk about child benefit nowadays, if you mix it with the monthly budget of the family, it's okay, it's fine. Because you are spending this money on the family, which is halal. There is no problem with that. The problem is the dispute arises when the father takes the whole money and he wants to establish a business without planning to give back to his children, because it's their money. The ulama said this child benefit, this money belongs to the children. It has to be spent on the children. Even if they don't need it now, we can save it for them, for their education in the future, when they go to university. But the first case, if you decide to include it in the monthly expenses, you can include it, that's fine. That's halal, there is no problem with that. But if you decide to use it for yourself as a father or a mother, there are some conditions. They said you can use it, but with one condition. Number one is that the children are not in need of this money. They have enough money. Their basic needs are fulfilled, are covered. You don't take this money, spend it on yourself, and you leave your children without their basic needs covered. You can't do that. This is a dhulm. You cannot take money from one child and give it to another child. As a father, as a parent, if you need this money to spend it on yourself because you are in need, you can't take this money and spend it on yourself. But you cannot take it and give it to another child, because you create bad hard feelings here, and you're creating injustice in the family. And the main thing is your children are not affected with this allocation of money, of resources. They are not affected. Their basic needs are covered. This is very important. And there should be some justification for this move. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Now when it comes to the money of our wives, the ulama said that, all the jumhur ulama, they said women have the financial independence. It's their money. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why in Surah Al-Nisa, He said, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلًا. So he said, give the woman upon marriage their bridal gifts graciously. But if they give up willingly, if they give you this money back and said use it, then you can use it. So that means it is their money, it's their ownership, and you cannot tell your wife that your money is my money. I have the total freedom to deal with it the way I want. Sharia does not allow you to do that. Sharia does not allow you. If she is fine, that's okay. The problem that we are facing in our communities, that our sisters in their families, they start spending. Sometimes they have money, they have an income, they start spending on the family. If they, at the time of divorce, or if there is a conflict and dispute between husband and wife, she said, it is my money and I was spending on the family, he has to pay me back everything. Because it was his responsibility to spend on the family. We know that it is the responsibility of the husband to spend on the family, right? So they keep spending. Everything is fine and dandy, the relationship is fine, alhamdulillah, they love each other. But then at the time of fighting, if they're fighting, they come to the Imam, he said, I was spending for 10 years on the family, I was doing this, so he has to pay me back. So the ulama, they said, if you are volunteering, you can't ask for this money to be paid back. So you have to be careful here. But if you are giving a loan to your husband, telling him, this is my money and this is a loan, I want it back. Later on, when you are able to pay me back, then everything is clear now. Then the Sharia gives you a right to ask for this money to be given to you back. Wallahu ta'ala. Now let's talk a little bit about RESP and RSP. We'll talk about RSP tomorrow. But it's the same concept basically. RSP, they are Registered Education Saving Plans. So you open this account with the government, with the bank, and you put money into it, you deposit money, and the government usually would give you $500. To the best of my knowledge, every year they will give you $500 for each child to save for the education of your children in the future. Now many Muslims are confused about the concept of these accounts because they are either saving accounts that generate interest or they are investment accounts. And sometimes those Muslims who open these accounts have no control over this, the kind of investment that's taking place here. The bank could be investing this money, in different companies. You don't know what kind of investment is taking place there. We don't have pure halal investment here in Canada. So many Muslims are confused about this account. So there is a solution. One of our ulama, qualified ulama, he said, if you open this account, and I think it's a better option than waiting until your child becomes 18 years old and then you start thinking about solving this problem. Should he go to the government or to the bank and ask for a student loan, or should we, what are we supposed to do? And most of the Muslim children are taking student loans. But this is a good option here. You open this account, and they said if it is a saving account, then you put your money for your child, your gift, your donation for your child, or you may deposit the child benefit for your children, divided between the children. This is a good option too. And then the government will give you some money. Then you have to follow the statements. You have to watch for the interest. And then you get rid of it. Like this 3 months, this quarter, you got $40 interest. You make it as a donation. Not from the bank account, because you don't have access to the account. The moment you open this account for your children, you as a father, you don't have access to this account. This money is kept there until your children become 18. And then they take this money to spend it on their university education, when they go to university. And by the way, these fees will be very expensive within the next 5-10 years, wallahu ta'ala. So they spend it when they become 18. But you are helping your children, you are purifying the account from interest. You give it from your pocket. The money itself is not filthy. If you give this for itself, so you don't have to get access to this account and its own numbers, you're dealing with numbers anyway, when you deal with the bank. Which money you're going to purify? So you get some money from your pocket and you give it as a sadaqah, you put it in the masjid or give it to someone in need. You don't get reward for it because the hadith is takhallus. تخلص, you get rid of it. المال الحرام, يعني you get rid of it. You don't use it for yourself, you don't give it to your family to use it, but it is halal for someone else, a third party. It could be a masjid, it could be a Muslim organization, school, someone else who is in need. That's okay. And it's halal for them. But for you, because you know this money is haram, you don't want to use it. So you are purifying the account. They said if it is an investment account, get rid of the profit, because you don't know this profit, the nature of this profit. So you keep the capital, your money, and the money coming from the government. At least you get the money coming from the government for your children for like 10 years. It will be a good amount of money. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. This is how we can save for our education for our children. We should open the door, inshallah, for the floor for their questions. Jazakallah khair. It's up to you.
Let's start with the question from the brothers and then one question from the sisters. So, brother, start.
So for the sheikh, you talked about if the account for this education is savings account. What if it was investment-based account?
Yeah, they said you get rid of the profits. Yeah, the brother has said, what you're talking about saving accounts for this RESP. What about if it was an investment account? We said you get rid of the profit. If there is no profit, you're losing money, then you don't do anything, because you're losing, it's minus. But if you are making profit, the ulama, they said, one alim, I talked to him, he said you get rid of the profit because you don't know about these kind of investments. It could be haram, you know, financial institutions, insurance companies, banks. So get rid of the profit, keep the capital, your money, and the money coming, the grant coming from the government. And you will be in the safe side, inshallah. Yes. It's better than waiting until your child is 18 and then you think about it, you go to the imam, is it haram to take student loan or not? It's better. Wallahu ta'ala.
Alright, question for the sisters. If they are ready. Sisters. They don't have any questions.
Yes, regarding this point about students' account, at some point the amount of money will be like, I don't know how much it's going to be, but would that incur some zakat issues on this money or not?
Yeah, of course. Zakat. Children have to pay zakat. The brother is asking, this money will reach. But anyway, I have to be more clear here, more specific here. The brother, he said this money will reach a certain amount, and maybe zakat is due here on this amount. Are we supposed to pay zakat? Actually, there is some difference between RSP and RESP. RSP, they are pension plans. The difference between them that you, as the owner of this account, you have access to the account. RSP, for example, they are similar account, but these are pension plans. You have access to it. If you take money, they will charge you a tax, right? It's a higher rate, big amount of taxes you pay on this, but you have access to it. This account, you don't have access to it. So some ulama, they said you don't pay zakat until the child gets it in his hand and he has to pay zakat on it from the first time. Some ulama, they said he pays zakat. To be in the safe side is not a big amount. If zakat is paid, it's better. That is my personal opinion, Allah Ta'ala. It's only 2.5. If it is 10,000, it's 250. If it is 5,000, it's only a small amount of money, 125. So to pay the zakat is better. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, but there are some ulama, they said if you don't have access to it at all, which is different than RSP, then you can wait until you get this money, or your child gets this money in his hand and pays zakat from the first time, and then he can pay every year if he has enough money to pay the zakat. Wallahu ta'ala.
We have a technical issue upstairs, so while we're waiting for the questions from the sisters, we'll take one more question.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. My question is, you said the money we got for RESP $500 from the government, right? So we can get rid of the interest. How about the government money? That is also come from government. We don't know the source. Government always.
No, government money is halal.
But they are also investing money in different banks.
Yeah.
Different.
The brother said, how about the money that is coming from the government? Is it halal or not? If you get rid of the money coming from the government, there is no point of opening this account. Unless you open another account for your children by yourself to save money to save money for them. This money, you are not sure about the source. And even if it is, you are not sure about the source of this money. The difference between this money and the interest is that the money that is in the account was used to generate this interest. It's your money that was in the account. It was given as a loan to corporations and businesses. So it is your money that generated this interest. Because it is your money that generated this interest, you get rid of this interest. Because it came to your property through an illegal way, to your ownership through an illegal way. Now this money coming as a gift, as a grant from the government, all grants coming from the government are halal. You are not responsible of, the way the government earned this money. It's not. Otherwise, it will be extremely difficult for you to live on this earth. You cannot deal with anyone. If you have doubt about the earning of every person you deal with. Rasulullah ﷺ used to make business with Jewish people in Medina. He accepted the invitation of the Jewish woman in Khaybar. He accepted the invitation of a Jewish boy in Medina. And he used to do business with them. He passed away, alayhi salatu wasalam, while his armor shield was given as a pledge for 30 bags of wheat or barley. So he used to do business with them, even though they were heavily involved in riba, business, interest-based transactions. But Rasulullah ﷺ dealt with them because his transactions with them were halal. This is what you need to worry about. So a grant coming from someone, it's halal. Like you, when you give a donation to someone, you get rid of the haram money in your pocket. It is haram for you to use it, but it becomes halal for him to use it. Otherwise, you cannot get rid of this money. You throw it in the garbage. And no one says that you have to throw it in the garbage. So money coming from the government is halal, is not haram. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And these are the fatwas of all the ulama. You want to go back to the sisters?
We are waiting for the sister to text their questions. In the meantime, we'll take one more brother. Nice one first.
Yeah. So there is a difference between Sharia and the Canadian law regarding inheritance. In this case, does the will become like a must or obligatory to state that the properties and all the money should be distributed?
Here comes, the brother here said there is a difference between Sharia and Canadian law when it comes to writing wills and dividing properties and everything. But the answer is you have the freedom here to write your own will, and you do it based on the Sharia, the guidelines of Sharia. You have total freedom. There is flexibility when it comes to wills and here in North America. You just have to notarize it, maybe. You just take it to a notary public. If it is notarized with witnesses, signature of some witnesses, that's it. Everything will be fine. And no one can object to your will. No one has the right to say, okay, this is not, legal, or this is not. You do it the way you want. Based on the guidelines of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sharia of Allah.
But still, it's an obligatory just to avoid like distributing the money according to the. If there is no will.
It is. If you don't have a will, your family members will face some challenges. And then sometimes there are cases where the whole family, have an accident. They end up into an accident and both parents pass away. And so children are left. So you need to pay attention to that too. To secure your family, secure your children, and have an executor, someone a friend, a good friend of yours, or a family member who will take care of your family in case, la qaddar Allah, God forbid, something happens.
My question is a little bit out of topic, so I just have a question. Is the person necessary to buy insurance? For example, I'm self-employed, so I don't have PI, so if something happened to me, so I don't have nothing.
Health insurance?
Yes.
Yeah, health insurance, if you need it, you can buy it here. And the best option is Blue Cross because they are a non-profit organization, very close to social insurance. Their concept is very close to Sharia insurance. So you can buy Blue Cross if you want because they are not paying shareholders. They are not paying shareholders, they are not making profit, they are a non-profit organization. If they make a profit, they are trying to balance the books. If you make profit, they use it in research and or to minimize, reduce the premiums. I don't know how they do it, I'm not aware of the details, but this is what they say in their documents, that they are a non-profit organization.
Blue Cross. Blue Cross.
Blue Cross, yeah. And many ulama have said, in the West, if you need health insurance, you can buy it. If there is a need for it. Insurance is based on gharar, it is not based on riba. Most of the types of insurance, gharar, uncertainty, there is some tolerance in Sharia for gharar, but there is zero tolerance for riba. There is a difference between riba and gharar, which is uncertainty. We may talk about these things tomorrow, inshallah.
Brother, you had a question? You didn't have a question? All right, Brother Oman.
Assalamu alaikum. Going back to RESP, in order to get some money or fund from the government, I am getting myself involved into riba. Although I am getting it back to charity or anything, how is it justified? So why don't I put all my money, which is idle now in the checking account, put into savings account, earn some riba, and send it back to my poor people back home? Same way.
Say it again, I didn't understand your point.
Like RESP.
RESP.
Yes.
For children.
For children, right. Just to get the grant from the government, I put my money into RESP and I earn some riba at the same time, right? So just to get some money from the government, I am getting myself involved into riba.
Okay.
How is it justified? If it is justified,
I'll tell you the answer.
Yeah.
The brother is saying to get, for the purpose of getting this money from the government, I'm making myself involved into riba. So I'm putting this money in the RSP and getting this money from the government, but at the same time generating interest to send it to the poor. How about the rest of money? Do you keep it in the house or do you have a bank account? If you don't open an RSP.
I put everything in my checking account so that I don't earn any interest.
Okay, I'll tell you something that maybe you're not aware of it. You don't earn any interest, but your money is financing interest-based transactions in this country, in this system. This is how you just need to study about financial intermediation, how financial intermediation is taking place in the banking system. Money coming from depositors. This is the bank in the middle. The bank will give this money. Bank itself doesn't have money. It's getting money from depositors. Your money, my money, and the money of everyone. So the same money is given to corporations. Same money, your money is given to corporations and businesses. The bank is charging them 19%, 20% as interest. So your money is used in advancing these loans given to corporations. Whether you put it in RSP or checking, it doesn't make a difference. And then, of course, the bank will give 3% or 4% to the customers, those who are collecting interest. Those who don't collect interest, then they don't give them anything, they take everything. And the bank will end up taking around maybe 12% for the difference, or 50%. This is how banks are running this business now. So whether you put your money in a checking or a saving, it is still used in the same system. Now here, well, the alim who said this is a good solution for our children, because your children, when they stand up, when they grow up and they become 18, they will think about student loan. If they don't have a good income, if you are not wealthy, and they want a university education to go to the university, then they have no other option. Well, the ulama, they said, talked about student loans here. There are big ulama who in North America here, they got together and they said, when they talked about student loans, Muslims, if Muslim students are facing this problem, they have to exhaust all halal options, taking qard hasan. Who's giving qard hasan these days? But they're saying that Muslim students have to exhaust all the halal options. Look for a qard hasan from a family member or from a father, or stop studying your schooling for 2 years sunnah. You work, make money, and then you go to the university again and pay for your fees. Or you work part-time and you study part-time. So they said yes, Muslim students are supposed, before applying for a student loan, they look for other options. But it's not easy for everyone, to tell you the truth. And you don't know if your child is willing to wait for these 2 years to work, make money. Is he going to find a job or not? So they said this option is better than waiting until they are 18 and then they look for student loans. If you don't have children, then the ulama made this fatwa for those who have children and they need this option. Wallahu ta'ala.
I have two questions from the sisters before we continue with the brothers here. First question, my mom gave me one apartment in my country, alhamdulillah. I plan when I sell it to give 1/3 to my daughter, 1/3 to my son, and 1/3 to poor people. Is it okay?
This is donation. Could you repeat the question again?
She said, my mom gave me one apartment in my country, alhamdulillah.
Back home.
Yes.
Okay.
I plan when I sell it to give 1/3 to my daughter, 1/3 to my son, and 1/3 to poor people.
When she sells it. So it is a gift. And she has only one son and one daughter. No other children.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, but we're assuming that. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But this is not inheritance. She's giving a donation or a gift to her children, and 1/3 as a sadaqah. This is not inheritance. Because if it is inheritance, the story would be different. If she doesn't have a husband, she leaves only one son and one daughter, then the daughter will take 1/3 and the son will take 2/3, if it is inheritance. But she's allowed to do this when she is alive. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Second question from the sisters. Is it okay or not to inherit from a relative, grandparent, mother, father, etc., who are not Muslim, i.e. a convert inheriting from Christian family?
لا توارث بين أهل ملتين. يعني there is no mirath between people from two different religions. So المسلم لا يرث الكافر والكافر لا يرث المسلم. A Muslim does not inherit a kafir and a kafir does not inherit a Muslim. This question from the sisters, right?
Yes. The brother was, I think it was Brother Ali.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
So,
Just going back to the RESP, just to make a couple of clarifications, maybe it will help answer some.
for children, RESP.
RESPs, yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the treatment of RSP and RESPs, there's a lot of similarities where the subscriber of the RSP has access to the account. It's not like anymore like the old days. So if you set up an RESP, you do have the privilege or access to the account. You could withdraw some money. You might lose the grant.
The accounts that you open for your children,
Yes,
you can have access to them?
yes, you do. Because you're the subscriber.
This is news to me, I don't know that.
The beneficiary is the child, of course. But if you decide to take some money out, you're going to lose the grant. At the same time, there could be some tax implications. So this
I'm
is,
not sure about that. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So this is so just to clarify this, and just maybe this is to answer the
Zakat question.
And the other thing is, I think RSPs nowadays they are very flexible again. So you could choose whatever investment that you would like to involve in.
But some companies are not flexible.
But no problem from the mainstream now. The majority are flexible. There are a couple of big organizations where you put the money in and you forget about it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. When it comes to zakat, again, the brother asked about zakat. The ulama, they said when you want to pay zakat on this kind of accounts, you calculate the amount of money that is in there minus tax, how much tax they're going to deduct from it. And plus penalty. You might deduct penalty if there is a penalty there. So you don't pay zakat on the tax and or the penalty that is applied to this account if you get some money out. Wallahu ta'ala.
Another brother on this side? Yes.
I wanted to ask what this money is haram. It's very example at the time of Muhammad that there was an interest that they or Sahaba received and what did they do with it?
I don't know about an example. The brother he said, is there any example at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam where some Sahaba received some haram money or interest money and what was their behavior and what was, what did they do with it? I don't remember about any money coming to them through interest. I don't have an example in mind now. But this is the fatwa of all the contemporary scholars that the money coming to you through interest, you don't leave it in the bank, you get rid of it, you give it as a donation. You don't get any reward for it because it's not a charity, but it's haram for you to use it, you give it to someone else and it will be halal. When it changes hand, it becomes halal for the other person.
Could it be given to the imam of the masjid or to the masjid or to the sadaqah?
They can give it to the masjid or anyone in need, but
Anyone in need is all right.
yeah.
But to the house of Allah, do you give them construction of the masjid to the money?
Yeah, many scholars they said it's okay. There are scholars who said they don't feel good about it. They don't feel good about it. They said it's better don't give it to a masjid. But the money itself is not. This is something that we need to understand when it comes to haram money. There are two types of haram money. There is haram money that is haram by itself, like stolen money. Stolen money is always haram. If you give it to someone else and he knows it is stolen, it's haram for him to consume it. If he gives it to a third party and he knows it is stolen, it is always haram. But haram money that is haram money that is haram for external factors, like the way it was earned. The money itself is not haram. What is haram is the way you've earned this money. For example, if I take interest from the bank, the money itself is not filthy, so I cannot throw it in the garbage. The money is still ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the way it came to me is haram. Came to me, so I'm not supposed to use it. When it changes hands, they said the ulama, مَا حَرَامٌ لِغَيْرِهِ, it's haram for external factors, then it becomes haram to the other, halal to the other person, even if it is a masjid. But there are some ulama who have some reservations about giving it to the house of Allah. I agree with you. Some ulama, they said it's better not to give it. They didn't say it's haram, they said it's better don't give it to the masjid, give it to some other people in need or Muslim school or any other purpose. Wallahu ta'ala.
We are obliged to put the money in the bank, though we know that there is interest involved.
Actually, they are using
The
it.
time we are living in,
Yeah,
we cannot operate, so we have to be involved in haram.
yeah. So what I'm saying here, trying to say, and the purpose of this lecture and this ta'lim, is to, we reach a level where we can have taqwa as much as we can. Ittaqullaha mastata'tum. This is what we need to do. We know that we live in an environment that is not friendly to our values. It is not friendly to our values. And this system, financial system, when it was built, it was not built with Muslims in mind or Sharia in mind. So now, as a Muslim, you live in this environment, you are surrounded with riba. But how do you survive? How do you preserve your Iman and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You try to fear Allah as much as you can. When something is optional and you don't need it, there is no pressing need for it, stay away from it for the sake of Allah. If there is a darura or there is a haja, pressing need, then you take it and you have a normal life with your family. But buying houses, I believe, through the bank is haram. And I can rent. I have a halal option that is available for me, renting a house. I'm not going to die if I rent. People back home, they rent. And people back home are living in actually cemeteries and facing more challenges and severe and actually they have a difficult life back home, our own people. Now we can rent and have a good life. You know, so the halal option is available for me. I have the option not to buy. But so here I stay away from it. But there are some other options where it's difficult for you to survive in this country. Like buying insurance for your car or your health. If you don't have health coverage, you go to the hospital, you may end up, I know a sister, yeah, who had no health coverage. She was a visitor here and she got into a big problem here. And she went to a doctor and she was diagnosed with heart problems. And the hospital, she said, if you do a surgery, it will cost you more than 100,000, around 120,000. While in India, it is done only for 15,000 or 10,000. So, okay.
One question from the sisters before we give the one last question from the brothers and conclude, inshallah. The question from the sister goes, who is going to pay our student loan when we die before it is paid off?
Well, the ulama who studied this issue, sister is saying who's going to pay our student loans if we die before they are paid off. The ulama who studied this issue, they said because you are a Muslim here, living in this society that is not friendly to your values, you don't have options. You don't have options, halal options. If you follow the right steps, you exhaust all the halal means, halal options, you look into them, and you really, Allah knows if you were serious about it or not. Then you didn't find it was the last resort to apply for a loan. They said, hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is their statement, hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you if something like this happened, because you are a Muslim and you want to study, go to school, but you didn't have any other option. The system is built like that for non-Muslims who don't care about interest, and you live in this environment. You know? Otherwise, if someone doesn't want to deal with these issues, then there is the hijrah, and leaving this country and going to another country where his children can go to school without, having to deal with interest. That's a good option. There are some Muslims who feel like this country is not good for them. So if they decide, they make the decision for themselves and their families, that's good, alhamdulillah. If their children are able to go in other countries to go to school or university without having to deal with riba.
Last question from the brothers. I believe that.
Are we allowed as an organization to use guns coming from the government, from gaming?
Actually, the government don't have these games or this. To the best of my understanding, these are taxes.
No, gaming.
Do they own this? This is something I need to know. Do they own these places?
Yes.
The government own them?
Yeah.
Huh?
I think they own them, yes.
The government?
Yeah,
They own these casinos?
It's the gambling corporation. BC,
But do they own them? Or they are private companies and the government is collecting taxes from them?
It's a crown corporation.
Until now I didn't get a good answer about this.
But you have
I got different answers about how the money is coming to the government is important. But anyway, the ulama who said when this haram money, which is not haram for itself, it's haram because it was the way it was earned, right? So when it changes hand, it becomes halal. When this money changes hand, it becomes halal. Some ulama advise Muslims here in the West not to rely on this money. Not to rely, but at the beginning they said it's halal. المال المحرم لغيره وليس لذاته. The money itself is not haram, but the way it was earned, it was not halal, it was haram. Haram for them, halal for someone else who take it. This is the same concept when I am as a person, take interest from the bank, give it to my cousin who is in need. My cousin who is in need. Is it haram for him or halal for him? It's interest money. Interest or gambling is the same thing. Same thing. I got some, okay, I got 100 interest, my account generated 100. And I'm giving it to my cousin. And I tell him this is a gift from me. Is it halal for him or haram to use it? Huh? Halal. Because I'm getting rid of it. I don't throw it in the garbage. No alim said throw it in the garbage. Because the money itself is not filthy. The way I earn it is wrong. You know what I mean? If it was a stolen money, yes, I'm not supposed to give it to him. Because still haram. The stolen money has to go to the right owner. So it's halal for my cousin now, $100, the same concept.
Do you have to tell him that it is a halal money?
You don't have to. You will be insulted. You will feel like offended.
It's my sadaqah also, the person who receives it.
You don't have
The
to.
highest person, you won't give it.
Well, if you know that he doesn't take this kind of money, don't give it to him. Give it to someone else.
We'll stop here, inshallah, for tonight. We'll let the Sheikh rest. We came today from Vancouver and he's tired. Tomorrow we'll start at 6:30, inshallah, and we'll have the same program. As for right now, we have refreshments for the brother downstairs, and I believe there's some for the sisters upstairs. And be with us, inshallah, tomorrow at 6:30. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.